Shoot. Yeah, you look connected. Yeah, that looks good.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so when you want to go file new query. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you're connected to the right database.
All right, thank you.
You bet. All right, we are live. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so before we get into the lecture today, we're going to do a quiz going over class 1 and 2. And if you check the Slack channel, I uploaded a SQL file. There's some instructions at the top. So, save it, save as, your first initial, last name, quiz 1. And then below, just fill out and type in the answers. I'll give us 30 minutes. Unless we get done earlier, that's fine. If you're not done at the 30-minute mark, we'll just finish it later and you can turn it in after the class. And it is open book, so you can reference the other decks, whatever you need to finish it. Does this sound good? And then we'll get into the class 3 lecture. Marcus, did you catch all that?
I just caught the very end of it. I'm sorry.
Cool. So I loaded a SQL file on the Slack channel for download.
Cool.
Just open it, save as. There's some instructions at the top. We're going to do 30 minutes for the quiz. If everybody gets done, just type done in the box so I know that you're done.
Okay.
And if we get done early, great. If you're not done after 30 minutes, then we'll, you can finish it later.
Okay, cool. Right on. Thank you.
Ali, welcome to the stream. We're going to take a quiz for the first half hour of the class. I uploaded a SQL file to the Slack channel for you to download and take the quiz.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, just send them back to me when you're just direct message me when you're done. All right. So I've got mostly everybody's. There's a few that are left, but if you're finished with the quiz, I uploaded a SQL file that has the scripts we're going to use today. And feel free to download that, load it up, and start checking it out. All right. I think we've got everybody's quiz in. Appreciate it. And we're a few minutes early, so I will get started. Okay. Can you all see my screen online? Somebody give me a thumbs up.
I don't know if it's frozen, but it's been on the same thing for a hot minute.
Okay. Should be extracting and storing data.
So far, yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right. So today we're going to go over some DDL. We're going to modify some databases, tables within those, view the tables, look at some table constraints. Then we're going to do some inserting, deleting, and updating of the data. And then we're going to create that world database with 3 different data tables in there. And then we're going to load this Netflix one that is going to require us to adjust some table constraints. All right. So class 2, we did a little bit more of manipulating data through, aggregate functions, use some common SQL clauses. I always recommend, especially now that you add annotation and comments to each line of your code, it'll help you learn as you go along. And then debugging. I think ChatGPT is just fantastic at that, where you can take the error message, drop it in, and it'll explain to you what's going on. And then working with some dates and strings. Does anybody have any questions specifically to class 2? Okay, moving on. All right, so we're going to be playing around with data storage today. I'm actually going to show you the world table we're going to make from SQL script alone. We're not going to load to any files or go to any, try to copy it from a different database. So we've touched on what's the need for data manipulation before. What we're doing in this is very basic, but as you go on and get into, I'm assuming there's going to be some done in Python, and we start working with some larger data sets, it's going to get quite a bit more intense. And you'll start to see and feel like, people end up developing a particular style too that they're comfortable with using, right? And so you'll eventually get that. Okay, so step 1, and so you don't need to type it. I did put everything in a SQL file for you. Make sure you're connected to your database, and you're going to create the world schema, and then we're going to load the 3 files, the countries, the cities, and we're going to create the language data table as well. You catch me saying file and tables and all that stuff because when I'm consulting, I got to do like blob storage and flip over to, API connections. So you'll have to excuse me if I start interchanging some of the words. Okay, so when you put that in there, and sometimes when you have a function to create a schema and it's already there, it'll throw up an error message, but it's not critical. It'll actually keep running all the rest of the script. So we're going to create a tabular structure for persistent data storage and retrieval. So making sure everything's consistent. So in the gray, we've got table and field names. Then we've got our constraints. So for example, not null. If you have a record in that column and it is blank, it's going to throw up an error message. And then we've got your table keys, primary and foreign. So primary key is going to be code on this thing. Something to add here is like this nvarchar 52 or nvarchar 50 or 26. That's actually like the maximum amount the string's going to allow. If for some reason it's longer than that, it will throw up an error message and you won't be able to create that value or import it from a file. It does that to save on storage and memory usage. You can get around it by putting max in, but if you've got a lot of data, you really want to avoid that. We're not going to go over today, but there are some ways that you can, create a SQL script that are then output what's the max string number, so you can then put it in there. Okay, going over some constraints. So you've got null versus not null. Null is going to allow blank values in there. Default is if there's not a value, it'll label it as whatever you put it. I think the script we have for world, the default is Asia for the continent if something isn't listed. If you put in unique, that's going to force only unique values in that column. That's helpful when we create primary keys or unique IDs for things. Let's see. So yeah, your primary key, you're going to see that in pretty much all relational databases that you're working with, whether you're, connecting to a software system directly to a relational database or APIs. Think of it as like a unique customer ID, or, you could set it as a record ID, all kinds of things. So modifying and deleting tables. Okay, so it's in the SQL script. Let me stop for a second, make sure we're doing this. So in your SQL script, you'll want to create your schema, and then let's create the world country table. So run that in a new file, and then we're going to create this column test. And you do that through an alter table command, and then you identify world.country, the table you want to alter. We're going to add the column test with nvarchar 50. Default value is just default value, and then it can't be null. The point here is just adding a column and dropping it. Okay, so constraints, those can be a little tricky. So when you add a constraint like we did, it'll generate a system name for the constraint. So I've added some script here It should, in the file drop constraints are system generated. First, we need to look up the name. So you can use that script there. It should kick out a system generated name. And then after that, you can alter the table, drop the constraint, and then just use the name that you found in your output by running the previous SQL script. Okay, and then lastly, we want to drop the world.country table. This can get a little tricky. Like if, I'll show you in the entire script later, we'll work through when you're adding this, but like, let's say if you ran the script, maybe some errors came up and it ran some of it, it did create the table and you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to add some script to take care of some other portion of the values that we're trying to put in there. It's going to error out completely. It's going to say, oh, well, this table's already created, and so then you can either run a new SQL file or you can do something like this where you're kind of using an if statement to look for the table and drop it. Okay. So if you should check to see if that table is still there or not. And you can do that by looking on the where your server screen is, and then you've got your drop down with your database, then look for tables and then confirm if it's there or not there. Since you should have deleted it, what I want you to do is I want you to run that create world.country table script again. And then we're going to go where it says insert data into the country table. We're going to use an insert into statement. This is continually load values into a data table.
Your connection cut out
So
and garbled a bunch of text.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So create your table, because we ended up dropping it as, the last function in the exercise. What we're going to do now is we're going to insert some data into that, because when you create the table, you're just creating the structure, right? It's like scaffolding on a house. And now we're going to start putting up drywall and painting and things like that. With insert into statements, you're identifying the table, and then you're listing all the columns in the order that you're going to insert the values. And then below is going to be the actual values. And then once you've ran that, you can select the top three, and the output should be the 3 rows of data that we've created. I'll give you a couple minutes there to try that out. And please, if you're having trouble with it, don't be shy.
So I'll be honest, I'm struggling even to get into my database specifically. For some reason, it won't let me utilize that to then start running this. And I'm in I've switched databases. Or tried to switch them. For some reason, I just keep, it won't allow me to.
What's it saying?
It's just showing a red box around where my database is at, and I was getting some error codes before that. I exited out.
Let me see if I can connect to it. Here.
I know. I wish I could give you a better answer. Let me exit out of it. Maybe I can try to do it again here.
All right, I was able to connect on my end.
Okay. Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
1 sec here. Let me try to do this again.
Yeah, because I think your IP address should be.
Yeah, I'm in the same place. I haven't moved or anything.
Sometimes your internet service provider will change that.
Okay.
Every so often, so it wouldn't hurt to double check.
Yeah. Okay, let me. All right, there. I mean, it looks better now, so maybe.
So when I hit run, I'm just getting an error message. So I don't know what that means.
What's the plain English of the error message say?
Message 156, level 15, state 1, line 2. Incorrect syntax near the word from.
Okay. And
world.country database.
What's that?
I'm using the world.country table. Sorry.
Did you create the schema yet?
Probably not.
Oh, I don't know where the from would come in, so there shouldn't be a. And are you trying to run the top 3 portion?
Yeah, so I just created a table from that world country. I created like a top 1000 table. And so I don't know, maybe I got left behind somewhere because I was under the impression that we were going on an overview and then we would be able to see you actually do it on your computer. And then you said to run this code.
Yeah,
so
we can
Yeah.
yeah, we'll do the overview so we can address that. We can keep moving on.
Okay.
Because we're gonna end up creating 3 of these huge tables.
Okay, so I'm not behind because I just want to make sure I'm not behind. I thought you were explaining what we were going to do, and then we were going to do it.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm on the same boat. I was just listening to you. I didn't think we're supposed to. Be
Okay. No, that's
going
totally
along.
okay. We can keep moving on. I mean, we're gonna get to that. So okay, so what is a view? So what a view is if you want to grab some data, maybe combine it from 2 different tables, or you don't want all of the columns, you can create a view. Now, a view isn't storing the data, so you have to run the query every time. The purpose of that is so you can like subset the data without altering or messing with the original data. So for example, if I am trying to, like, if I'm working on some ETL pipelines, right? I never want to mess with that original data. And a lot of times you're going to, like, the original data tables are going to have data that you're not really interested in using. And then you don't want to keep carrying this massive data set if you don't need it. Like, let's say, if we've got 5 years worth of data, I only want the last 12 months or maybe the last 2 years to keep around. You would, I personally like to do a lot of that stuff in Python, but what you could do here is create a view that would then only pull the last 2 years worth of data. And then from there, you can save that view and create a new table if you wanted to. Okay, so inserting some values. So here, if you want to follow along, which you don't need to do right now, this is creating just a test table, and then inserting some countries into that. So we're just creating a 1-column table, and then step 2 is we're adding China, India, and Nepal into that copy of the table with only one column in it. So this is actually a really common SQL function, is when you're updating existing values in a table. I don't typically do that column though. Like I'll create a new column and then copy all the values and then change those. So I'm preserving, whatever the original column is, unless I'm doing it from a view and creating a different table. So here what I'm doing is I'm doing an update statement saying what my table is, and set the country column equals the People's Republic of China, where country equals China. In my world, for example, I do a lot of work with electronic health record systems. And what typically happens is the staff that's entering insurance, you're going to have like 15 Cignas, and like 20 different United Healthcare spellings. And so it's pretty common that I have to create a statement that's going to clean those up and combine the 15 into one. Right? Because if they're like, hey, what's the outstanding balance for United Healthcare? And I only pull one of those, like I'm going to be way off, right? Deleting records, you've got to be really damn sure if you're going to delete something. And again, I would copy a table into a new table. I would never mess with the original data table. But what you can do is use a delete statement, and then what column, country, any value that is Nepal, it's going to get rid of that record. So you can see the output over here where we've changed China, and then there would have been 3, and now there's only 2 countries because we got rid of the Nepal value. Okay, the fun stuff. Give me a second here. What I'm going to do is, well, first, I do want you to do this. So I want you to drop any tables that you have in there, and then drop the schema as well. I've just, in the Slack, I've loaded 3 different SQL files. So if you want to get those ready and open them up. Second here.
So when you say we're dropping the schema, is it like we're starting from like last week's where we finished last week, or we brand new project?
So last week, what we were doing is, I believe we were just looking at the read-only table, right? And we were pulling data from there. What we're doing today is we're going to load that into your own database. And so dropping the schema, which is optional. So if it existed and you didn't drop it, it's going to produce an error, but it still will run the rest of the script, unlike a table. If that table's already there and there's an error, then you've got to work around that, either delete the table and restart or create like a logical function.
So if we have DBA US 6 from last time,
What's that?
we have the US 6 from last time.
You can keep the zips. Yeah, we're not going to mess with that today.
Okay, so
first, what we're going to do is we're going to run the country SQL. And before I share my screen, because I've got to not share the slide and then flip over to my Azure environment, the takeaway I want you to pay attention to on this is there's a limit where you can only add 1,000 records at a time when you're doing it this way. There is a way around that. You basically close the insert statement and then just start a new insert statement, close it, 3,000 records in the ass. And hopefully you don't have to manually add records like the way that we're doing very often. But it's important for you to learn the dynamics on how to do it.
You froze up.
Okay, I should unfreeze in a second. Okay, so you should have, this is what the file should look like, the world country SQL file. So at the top, we're creating a schema. Then we're creating a table. And then down here, we've got all of our insert values. I will point out at the end, like you don't need anything else, but you're doing a comma for every different value. And at the end, you just need to close it with a semicolon.
So my table looks a lot different. I have the first like 2 pieces of code, but at line 25, mine says add column, alter table, world, country. Like it's a different code after that.
Yeah, I also.
Oh,
28
line 28 on. Okay, let me see if I uploaded the right one. And it's worldcountry.sql.
Wait to see class 3 SQL.
Oh, yeah, no. So the class 3 SQL script file I loaded at the beginning of the class was to follow along with the lecture. I've just loaded 3 more. Oh, shoot, my bad. I sorry, I sent them to Ollie. I clicked the wrong one, guys. My bad. Hold on here. It's too many screens going. Okay, so you should have 3 files. First, we're going to do world country. Okay, so if you see my screen, check over here before you run this that those tables are gone. Okay, so I did not delete the schema, the object schema in there, but as I said, like it'll still run.
So we need to download world country.
Yes.
Okay.
It did give an error, but it did also load. It said there's already an object name pool in the database.
Correct. Yeah. So I got the same one. That is the optional schema statement. So for example, if you just took that out and ran starting with create table, it'll run without your error. Yeah, because I didn't delete the schema either. I just deleted the tables.
So we need to go all the way down to line 23 for this.
20. You want to run all of it, the entire world country file.
All right.
Yeah. Before you do it, though, you'll want to make sure that you've deleted the other table if you had it in there, world.country.
Okay, let me see. I have Netflix titles, I have US zips, and I have world.city, then I have world.country. Then I have world.country language.
Are you in your database or the read only?
I'm in the read only.
So you want to go to yours.
All right. For that, for my own, I only have US zips.
So you should be good to go. I would just hit run.
All right, nice.
Once you're connected. Yeah, it sounds like you're connected, so you're able to look at the tables.
Yeah.
Then do your select top 1,000. Make sure that you've got the data loaded.
So I got 3 different errors whenever I hit run on what I copied and pasted in there. And one of them's our object already named world, failed to create schema, and already named country in the database.
Can you, is your table still there?
So I never got a table to show up.
And you're in yours, not the read-only one?
Yep.
Try clicking refresh to see if it's there. So the schema is an optional function, so it's not a critical error. It'll pop an error. I got a couple of them too. It should still load your table. If it's not loading, what you can do is try the statement to drop it. And I'll put that in the comment in StreamYard. I don't know if that's good for copying. Let me try Slack here.
All right, I'm good. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So do you have country, language, or cities in there? What other tables do you have? That's it? And then you so the foreign key error usually pops up because if the country, language, and cities are there because it's connected through a foreign key. Give me a second. Create our foreign key. Okay.
So I'm connected to my database, but it's giving me execution failed due to unexpected error, unfound provider 4.
Provider 4.
Yes.
If you Slack, I'll take a look.
All right.
Okay, so Jonathan, I'm going to put this into Slack. Oh, I don't have a constraint name yet. Try running that script. DeForest, do I have the IP address from where you're at?
You should. I'm connected to both databases. I was just chat GPTing this as well. Cannot access a specified database or table. But I'm definitely connected.
At the top of the screen in your query file where it says database, what does that say?
It says my name. That's the right database, right?
It says Cox DB.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. So I don't see any tables in there. Let me see if I can create something. So that worked. Why don't you try disconnecting and reconnecting?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I see you in here as a user, so you should be good. And I was able to run connect and run.
All right, let me try again.
Luke, did you try running City yet?
No.
Yeah. So if you're up to speed, you're not having issues, run the City script. It should run without any errors. If you notice at the top, I don't have Shima included, so you shouldn't produce that error. And then there is an if statement that gets around the error that can be created if your table's already there. But what I want to point out on this, if you look at my screen, is because there's 4,000 or 5,000 cities, and we've got that 1,000 row limit for the insert function. So what I need to do every 1,000 rows here. Let's see. What, don't? So I got around this. Okay, here's an example. So just like we did when we created the country table, you separate each of your values with a comma. The last one needs to be a semicolon. And then after that, I'm just repeating the insert statement. That's all I'm doing.
So, and for the city, we have to run a new query, correct?
Correct. Yep. So there's another file in there. You can open it and you should be able to run it.
All right, so I've made progress on my end.
Great.
I have the error message that you said we should expect. Started executing query at line 1, message 2714, level 16, state 6, line 2. there's already an object named world in the database. Message 2759 level 16 state 0 line 2 create schema failed due to previous errors.
Yeah, but if you look over, you should still see your table. It's a non-critical error, so it should run the rest of your code.
So where would I find my table at?
Same place where you look where you're connected, where you click on the over here on the left,
Uh-huh.
and you always want to refresh it. So I just refreshed your database here, and then here we go, world dot country,
Okay, I understand.
and then we'll see what we got. Yep, you did good, man.
Tried.
Spot on.
I tried. So then the next step is to do that same, follow that same workflow with the other prompts you sent us.
The language table.
World, country, language.
Correct.
Okay. I'm getting better, but only by micro increments.
Jonathan, did you get it working? Okay, perfect. I want to discuss keys for a minute that we generated, unless somebody's got help or fell way behind. Okay.
So just as of right now, all we had to do is create the 3 tables: world city, world country, and language.
You got it. Okay. To get you guys can see this. Okay. All right. So in the world country table, what we have here is we've got the first column is called code. And at the end, when we create the table, we're labeling code as the primary key. And that's going to be this ABW. And that's unique to each of the entries. When we're creating in City, we're doing 2 things. One, we're creating an ID for each record, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, unique to each one of those. And then as we go down, so the primary key for each record is going to be that indexing sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then our foreign key is going to be country code, which is, if you look at right here, AFG, and this is going to reference the 3-letter code from world.country. So why are we doing that? With this table, we've got multiple cities for a country, right? So that 3-letter country code is going to pop up over and over and over again. So it's not unique. And so that's why we're creating a separate primary key on the side. And as we're going to go and dive deeper in the next class where we're joining things, this is essentially telling you how do you connect the two together back to the primary key. So if you wanted to pull information from the country table onto this table and join it, we can expand all the columns based on that country code. We can go vice versa, but that's where we're going to get into more complex joining relationships. And then for the country language, we didn't do a particular index on this. I just wanted you guys to see how to do that. We're connecting this back to, with the 3-letter code, whatever English or whatever language that they're speaking. And then obviously there's multiple languages. When you're creating a primary key, we did it the other way using SQL script, and it's showing the index like the 1, 2, 3, whatever. You can also do it system generated, which is what this is doing. Sometimes there are situations where instead of just using a random index value, that you want to join particular values for something. So for example, a patient goes to see a doctor and they have multiple visits over time. And let's say visit 1, I've got, 4 different services with 4 different charges. Visit 2, same deal. But I want to aggregate those. And so that needs to make some sense. And the system is not generating a type of unique identifier for me to aggregate into that visit. Typically, it's always on a transactional. And you'll see that quite frequently when you're looking at transactional data. So what you could do is you could concatenate the date that they were there, the doctor they saw, the location that they were at, and that could be like your aggregate visit, and then you could create a visit ID. And so then when you want to say, okay, well, what was the total revenue for that visit that day? Now you've combined all 4 of those transactions into, a single aggregate number. And then you can do it for the next one, and now you're monitoring by visit. If you wanted to monitor by patient and date, not a big deal, right? It's just a layer of information that's typically missing between a master and transactional data. Okay. All right, but good work. Okay, so we're going to do a quick review of the SQL import wizard, which is going to be a more common way of loading data into your database. Let's say you create a screen scraper. It's a hell of a lot easier just to save things into a .csv file and then loading it using an import tool. I gave more detailed instructions than I did last time for you to follow. I'm going to drop this Netflix title data table, and we're going to load that in. Okay, so I've dropped Netflix title .csv file. If you want to download that and start importing it, warning, it is going to produce a shitload of errors once you get there, and we're going to work through them. Okay, Okay, so if you don't remember what to do, you click the little Lego puzzle button. It should pop up SQL Server import. If not, you can add that extension. Then you go to where your database is and you right click it and click import wizard. Browse to wherever you stored the file on your computer. Make sure that you've got your database entered there, not the read-only one. And the modified data type, if needed, is where we're going to trigger some errors. But I want you to go through the process of working through those one by one. And I don't want to help you. No, I do. But what I want you to do is take the error message and I want you to throw it into ChatGPT or one of those if you have it. If you don't have it, you can try doing it the old school way. You could put it on you can honestly paste it into a Google search and see if there's any Stack Overflow that comes up for something. You'll probably find something. It's pretty common. So I know you're running into the I'm sure the nvarchar issues or errors loading that.
Being too small. You need to choose the max.
Yeah. For this one, I use the choose the max because they, some of that there was a bit screwy. Like some stuff would have like not many cast people, some would have a lot. And then there should be some that some records where columns have null values that you've got to then specify if that's okay or not.
I accidentally added the Netflix one to the read only. So do I have to drop it and then redo it for my own database?
You didn't get an error message when you tried to add it to read only?
Yeah, I was fixing through the data, the error messages, and then I accidentally clicked just done, and it just went through.
That's interesting. Yeah, because you don't have permission to add anything to that. Are you sure it didn't go to yours? Because it's already in. I added it to the read only one. I'm just surprised it didn't kick out an error. It's not in your database. Let me take a look.
Yeah, no, it's not in my database. There was I was working through the last column where I needed to add nulls, and then I accidentally clicked done and it just went through.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see it in yours. No, you don't need to worry about anything in the read only database. I'm just surprised that it didn't produce an error because one, that table's already in there, and two, you don't have permission to write anything or change anything in that database.
Okay, so I just need to redo it on my own for my database.
Yeah. All right. All right. So, Alec, don't worry about that right now. I mean, you can always, I'm going to move on because we've got another exercise. Okay. But first, yeah, we've covered a lot. So, how do we create, delete tables and views? We didn't mess with creating and deleting your actual database. I mean, we created schemas because one, it's, I'm going to have to delete it because I'm running your Azure account, and two, it's just not necessary. We created tables with constraints. Key thing to remember there is, the purpose of a constraint is so you have structured data and it's persistent. So it's going to force anything coming in to be formatted the way that you want it. If it's not, then you either got to manipulate the data and change it so it does fit that constraint, or change the constraint. Two, if you're deleting tables, you may need to delete a constraint first, which is system generated. So you've got to find that system generated name, and then you've got to name that to get rid of the constraints. So we've, dropped columns, we've deleted constraints, and then we've inserted, updated, deleted a few times over during this class. We've also imported data from SQL and CSV files, which is going to be a lot more common way to do this. Another way to do it that is common is you're going to connect to a database, and if you're in SQL, create a new table. Like for any type of business intelligence or data science purposes, like for data science, you have to convert everything, into basically ones, zeros, classifications, numbers. You're not going to be loading text or things like that. You can connect to a database directly in Tableau and Power BI, and you can, manipulate data from there. I just don't like doing it because if you ever change something, like you've got to go redo it in Power BI. So it's, for me, easier if you're going to be automating something to do that in Python and have a transformation in between. So I asked earlier in the quiz, like, what does, I think, ETL stand for? Export, transform, and load. And then it kind of flipped around a bit, and it was really popular for a while where it was export, load, then transform. So the difference there is if you're export and transforming, you're creating that view, or you're going to connect in Python, create data frames and manipulate it that way, and then export it into something, whether it's a new table, a file, .csv file, whatever it is. Loading is if you connected Power BI directly to that table, and then you start transforming it from there. Over the years, I personally, and engineers and developers I work with, stick to ETL. So I think it really won the battle, because a lot of the user interface based tools, which there's thousands and thousands of them, you just can't accomplish what you want to accomplish. And we all love to automate, right? Like, we want to set it and forget it and move on to different projects. Okay. If you feel like messing around and adding more data sets, I mean, there's tons and tons of free data sets out there. I've poached some of those for this class. Again, I'm not a big fan of going out to sites and doing some of those exercises. I prefer to find something directly in front of me, either, if I'm an entrepreneur, my own projects, if I'm at work, I've even pestered IT teams, asked to sit down with them, analytics professionals, said, hey, I really want to try pulling my own data. Most people are pretty cool about it, and they'll even help you out, but start using it in your day-to-day. If not, you don't have that opportunity and you want to start, honing in on your chops, then go for it. Do some of the Kaggle projects. Okay, so for now, I'm going to end the live stream, and then we've got another exercise we're going to try.